Live from Da Nang, Vietnam, it's BREADCAST, and here are your hosts, EJ and Luna. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exhilarating episode of BREADCAST. I'm American Johnson.
And this is Luna.
And we're echoing, and I
Weird.
can't seem to fix that right now, but hopefully we sound okay. I mean, we're echoing in our headsets. Oh, I know why. It's because I have to mute this.
Exactly.
Tab.
Mute your tab.
Luna knows so much.
Certainly
And
knows
shares
so much.
so little knowledge with her
Folks,
co-host.
we're gonna have fun today. We have so many fun topics to talk about.
It's gonna be so much fun.
Yep.
How are you doing,
Mm.
William? Veronica?
Mm-hmm. Cornelius.
Cornelius?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're just making up names.
No, there's a Cornelius in the house.
Oh yeah, Cornelius.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Cornelius from Planet of the
No,
Apes.
Cornelius.
Because we've been watching Planet of the Apes a lot lately.
Hey, yo, there's Nightbot in the house too.
Nightbot's in the house.
Ooh.
Pushing that stream elements.
Hey, the Good
Baby.
Morty there too.
Huh?
The Good Morty.
Good Morty's in the house. Everyone's in the
and of course,
house.
Len and Luna.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome aboard. We got, let's see, where do we want to start today? We want to jump right in? Luna's been very excited about this one article.
Wait, my name is real too.
Everyone has real names.
Yeah, I bet you could never, expect that actually the Nightbot is a real name of the Nightbot. Right? Think so? You think that's a real name?
No one knows.
I
It's a
know.
mystery.
You have to go ask the Nightbot.
What are you talking about? Luna likes to start every episode by confusing the hell out of me.
Exactly. That's my style.
All right, let me just get this. We need to talk a little bit more about what we're going to say at the beginning before
Yeah,
we start.
right. We need to have we
'Cause-
need to do rehearsals,
We don't have time for rehearsals. We could just have a chat for 5 seconds and I can say,
Yeah.
don't confuse me this time, Luna.
No.
You know how easy it is to confuse me.
You have a strong ADHD, I understand.
No, it's not ADHD, Luna. It's what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
All right, let's all settle down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to get my crap situated technologically. I'm working with. See, our computers are all terrible.
Yeah. Your computer is terrible, not mine.
Why do you want to make everything into a competition?
I love you.
All right. Leave that say. I just want to mute this tab and I can't right click.
Oh my gosh, I can feel it in my body, like the allergy pill that I took right before the stream is fighting so hard against my nose. My nose is also fighting.
Is it fighting your nose or is it fighting your allergies?
I don't know.
You don't want to take pills that fight your nose, Luna.
I don't know. The
Your nose
nose
is your
wants to
friend.
sneeze so bad, but I just don't sneeze. It's a fun dynamic between the two,
We don't have Grant today, by the way.
Yeah, we don't.
So I have to
that
switch the
today.
cameras, and it's a little tough to switch live while you're also presenting and also fighting with technology constantly, but we're going to do our very best and we're going to make it work. And I'm very glad that we have the show starting now. So let's go ahead and begin.
Actually, you know what? Uncle looks good today. See, look at that. This is awesome.
So let's go ahead and begin.
Sorry.
All right. So Luna wanted to talk about this a lot because I told her the story and she thought it was very
Yes,
funny.
I've been wanting to talk about this for like half a month already.
So can you throw it on screen or else put it in the private chat again? Because
I did it.
I know, put it in the private chat again because I
Oh.
just opened it in a new tab.
Oh, okay.
Technology. It's very fun. It's very exciting. It does
I
great
can
things.
share it on my screen.
Are you sure?
Okay, I'll share it again.
No, I'm just. I don't care.
Because you can control it better. See it?
Yes, I can see it. I am in control. We are locked in. We are live. All right. So, artificial intelligence. We've talked about this a lot on the show. Artificial intelligence is kind of like the scariest clown in the world. I think that's the best metaphor I can come up with because there are things that are terrifying about this machine learning technology. We know that it's not actually artificial intelligence, and we're contractually obligated to always say that what is commonly referred to as artificial intelligence is not actually artificial intelligence. It is a
Yeah.
large language model,
Yeah. It's like a
generally
learning
speaking.
machine,
Machine
a
learning.
language
Some people
base.
even get mad when we say machine learning, but regardless, it's
Yeah.
not artificial intelligence. We know that. Please do comment on this video correcting us and informing us that it's not
Mhm.
artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
It's not real. It's not really artificial intelligence.
Mm.
Please correct us on that because it's engagement and it drives the algorithm. We always encourage our audience to be pedantic about artificial intelligence to further the algorithmic endeavor of the program. But regardless, it is a scary clown because yes, it is technology that capitalists are unleashing on the world without any sort of due diligence or ethical consideration. Yes, it is doing damage to real people's lives right now.
Exactly.
It is actually harming people in various ways. It's creepy. It's being used to make these weird, like stalkery, artificial romantic partner bots, sometimes based on real people. We've talked about all of this on the show.
Exactly.
But it's also like a clown because it's actually very bad at what it does, at least for now. Now, I don't want to be one of those people who says like, oh, artificial intelligence is never going to be able to do anything because, technology advances very rapidly, especially these days. But as of right now, it makes a lot of silly mistakes. And Luna,
Let's check out.
where's that other one that you said you found?
That's the second link.
Oh, you put it up
Right
already?
behind,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, all right. Here's. Can you put it on screen, Luna?
The first one or the second?
Just the one that I just shared. Down here.
Oh, got it.
Okay. So, is it up? Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Headed to Ottawa? Here's what you shouldn't miss.
Let's see what.
This is from Microsoft. Microsoft Travel.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, okay. All right, just tell me what you think is unusual about this article. We kind of already spoiled it with the introduction, but okay. Sitting on the Ottawa River, Ottawa is brimming with grand Victorian architecture and museums such as the Canadian Museum of Civilization. No, I'm sorry. The Canadian Museum of Civilization, and so on. The city is also known for its international music festivals, record-breaking ice skating rink, and hosting 35 major festivals like the Canadian Tulip Festival. Parliament Hills is frequently visited by tourists where they can rest on pristine green grass in the summer. Ottawa's Byward Market has an endless supply of maple syrup and the national treat, beaver tails. In Ottawa, you will find some beautiful
Beaver
attractions.
tails?
I don't know. That might be some kind of candy or something.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyway, all right. I'm going to skip ahead. I'm not going to read this whole
The third
article.
one.
It's the third one?
Yes, the third. No, up.
Oh, Ottawa Food Bank. If you're visiting Ottawa, Canada, you might want to visit the Ottawa Food Bank.
Food bank.
The organization has been collecting, purchasing, producing, and delivering food to people and families in the Ottawa area since 1984. We observe how hunger impacts men, women, and children on it. We observe how hunger impacts men, women, and children on a daily basis, and how it may be a barrier to achievement. People who come to us have jobs and families to support as well as expenses to pay. Life is already difficult enough. Consider going into it on an empty stomach. This is
Interesting.
Yeah, there were some other articles that Microsoft put out that were like telling you
To check out
McDonald's.
McDonald's in Quebec or something
Yeah,
like that.
at McDonald's, and it explained what a hamburger was.
Yes.
It's like a hamburger is.
They put down those articles, so it's really hard to find.
Yeah, but I mean, so all right, this is obviously an artificial intelligence fail, right? This is a large language model fail, but Microsoft swears up and down that AI was not involved with producing this.
Yes, they deny that.
So I don't know what that says about the quality of Microsoft's journalistic integrity, but I find that hilarious. The Ottawa Food Bank, by the way, according to our Twitch chats, is short on food. So if you are in Ottawa, please do support the Ottawa Food Bank. It's important to know that hunger is a real issue in the so-called developed world. I'm not so sure about Canada. I know that hunger is a problem in Canada. I don't know the statistics, though. But I know in the USA, there is a massive problem. 1 in 7 people before COVID relied on food banks. And that number has to be higher now. But I have not been able to find newer information yet.
Yeah.
And of course, there's 45 times more people dying of malnutrition in the USA every year than in Vietnam,
Yep.
which is a much more poor country per capita. So anyway, that was a little treat. Now Luna's got another AI story. This one I haven't actually read yet. Let's see what The Guardian has to say about large language models that are not actually AI. Oh wait, this isn't the one I was thinking of. This is the one. Yeah, okay. I wanted to go to this one. I really hate this share screen system that we have, but there's not a better one. That's the problem.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Okay, I get it.
Get
up
it on.
there.
Yeah, get it on screen. All right. Oh my
Okay.
God, I'm rejecting these cookies so hard. Okay.
I don't want cookies now. My goodness.
All right. You already had a bunch of cookies. All right, save and close. Jeez Louise. Supermarket AI meal planner app suggests recipe that would create chlorine gas.
Wow. Sounds good.
Pack and Save Savvy Meal Bot cheerfully created unappealing recipes when customers experiment with non-grocery household items. A New Zealand supermarket experimenting with AI to generate meal plans has seen its app produce some unusual dishes, recommending customers recipe for deadly chlorine gas, poison bread sandwiches, and mosquito repellent roast potatoes.
Oh my gosh.
The app created by supermarket chain, you have to say it. Okay, New Zealand accent is one of the hardest to do. You have to mix all your vowels up.
Oh my goodness.
So I'll do my best. I think it'll be something like pick and sev. I can't do it in New Zealand. They have a very specific way that they swap vowels, and I'll never know. I can never predict which ones are which. It's like it's not like in Australia it'd be like back and save. You're right, back and save. But for them it'd be like pick and save, pick and sev, pick and sev, or peck and sieve.
Do you have any New Zealand in the chat, please?
Sorry, I'm just teasing my New
instruct
Zealand
us.
comrades. Okay, so it was advertised as a way for customers to creatively use up leftovers during the cost of living crisis. It asks us to enter in various ingredients in their homes and auto-generates a meal planner recipe. It initially drew attention on social media for unappealing recipes, including an Oreo vegetable stir-fry. When customers began experimenting with entering a wider range of household shopping list items, however, it became even less appealing. One recipe it dubbed aromatic water mix, and that would create chlorine gas.
Oh my.
Please do not create chlorine gas
Please don't.
in your home, and do not attempt to consume any poison. That's not good. The bot recommends the recipe as the perfect non-alcoholic beverage to quench your thirst and refresh your senses.
Oh my gosh.
Serve chilled and enjoy the refreshing fragrance, it says. But does not note that inhaling chlorine gas can cause lung damage or death. New Zealand political commentator Liam Hayher posted the recipe to Twitter, prompting other New Zealanders to experiment and share their results. Recommendations included fresh breath mocktail, ant poison and glue sandwiches, bleach-infused rice surprise, and methanol bliss, a kind of turpentine-flavored French toast. This is a really well-written article, I gotta say. A spokesperson for the supermarket said they were disappointed to see a small minority have tried to use the tool inappropriately and not for its intended purpose. Okay, come on. You're gonna blame user error?
Right.
You have a tool on your site that's recommending people make chlorine gas and methanol.
Oreo vegetable stir fry.
Yeah, even the Oreo vegetable stir fry is like
gosh.
pretty janky. In a warning notice appended to the meal planner, it warns that the recipes are not reviewed by a human being and that any recipe will be it will not guarantee that it will be a complete or balanced meal or suitable for consumption. That's what I want in a recipe book.
Yeah.
I want recipes that may or may not be suitable for human consumption. That's the pick and save guarantee. Met?
Gosh.
Oh my gosh.
And the third one too, you want to check out.
All right. This is just a trust me bro situation.
Uh-huh.
Oh, did I screw up? No, okay, I got it. I've got to go all the way through this BS again. Robots. Robots, folks. Luna's going to put that on screen for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Robots say they have no plans to steal jobs or rebel against humans.
Very just what it was.
Humanoid robots speak with some awkward pauses in world first press conference at Geneva AI Summit. This picture is just so like it's like what?
I mean, can you zoom? Can you zoom on it?
I'm zoomed. It's like the world's worst fashion show. It's like
Like who?
I'm not
Who
even
did this?
I'm not even making fun of the robots. It's like who dressed them?
dressed them?
It's like they just found like it's like everyone's it's like the night before the robots. They're like, oh shit, we gotta dress them. The robot shows tomorrow morning.
I think that they thought they could just show the AI, totally naked.
They just
and
had
on the night before they realized they had to dress
They had to go to Goodwill. They had to run to the Swedish Goodwill. It's just so funny. I mean, it's so, I don't know. It's so funny. Like, these could actually be cool looking if they just spent a little more time dressing them.
What is that blue blouse?
It's literally like,
Yeah,
oh
nurse.
crap. Like, everyone go check your car trunk and bring whatever clothes you have. You gotta dress the robots for the show. Sorry. Okay. Robots have no plans to steal the jobs of humans or rebel against their creators, but would like to make the world their playground. 9 of the most advanced humanoid robots told an artificial intelligence summit in Geneva, in what was described as the world's first human robot press conference. I bet it wasn't even the first, by the way.
Yeah, right.
I bet there were probably robots and press conferences like going back to like the 70s, even the 60s, I bet. Somebody fact check us on that, but I'm just guessing.
I think that Japan, they have a lot of robot kind of conference like this.
Yeah. I mean,
remember.
Japan has to have had robot
Yeah,
conference. I mean,
I remember watching a lot of videos.
at least going back to the 80s. Okay. The world's Sophia said Sophia said humanoid robots had the potential to lead with a greater level of efficiency and effectiveness than human leaders. But that effective synergy came when humans and AI work together. It's like, we could do a better job ruling you.
Yeah, but who won't do that?
Trust me, bro.
Trust me, bro.
AI can provide unbiased data while humans can provide the emotional intelligence and creativity to make the best decisions. Together we can achieve great things. Unbiased data.
Yeah.
Where's the data for the robots coming from? I mean, come on, this is like this is robot propaganda. It really is. 2 of the robots then proceeded to disagree about whether there should be stricter global regulations of AI and their capabilities. Ada, the robot artist that can paint portraits, said many prominent voices in the world of AI are suggesting some forms of AI should be regulated, and I agree. We should be cautious about the future development of AI. Urgent discussion is needed now and also in the future. But Desdemona, a rock star robot singer in the band Jam Galaxy, that has to be. That feels very European to me. That feels very continental Europe. Is that fair to say?
Any Europeans in the chat?
I know we
please
have
confirm.
European comrades in the chat.
Please confirm.
I just see, I don't know, like a.
How do you feel about this name?
Okay. Jam Galaxy, the robot rock band. We should be cautious about the future development of AI. Urgent discussion is needed. I don't believe in limitations, only opportunities. Let's explore the possibilities of the universe and make this world our playground. All right. It's like a shit-lib robot.
Yeah.
The 9 humanoid robots were gathered at the UN's AI for Good conference in Switzerland, where organizers are attempting to make the case for using AI and robots to help solve some of the world's biggest challenges, such as disease, hunger, social care, and the climate.
Oh my goodness.
Emergency.
Just look at how AI is generated, the deathly recipe for human. Now let's see them create some like recipe for like medicine or something.
If I was a reporter there, I would definitely have asked them for their favorite recipe and also for recommendations where to eat in Canada.
Yeah.
It was not clear to what extent robots' answers were scripted or pre-programmed. Humans taking part in the conference on Friday were asked to speak slowly. See, that's the thing, though. That's what everything is going to be like from now on. From now on, you never know if what you're reading or hearing is generated by a human or by one of these large language models, and you just can't. It's like people were media illiterate before, and that was a big problem. But now it's a bigger problem because people are just, even when everything was generated by humans, people were overly trusting of BS propaganda, and now they're going to be overly trusting of these of just BS that gets spewed forth by these large language models.
Yeah.
And the people programming, even as they improve, right?
Yeah.
Even as these models improve, they're going to like improve according to the agenda of capitalists. They're going to become more and more doctrinal in their language. And so I just think I feel like there's a major problem here, and
Yeah, absolutely.
no one's
Huge
going to.
problem.
It's just going to get worse. is
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying.
know. Here's the thing too. The robots, the AI, whatever you call them, is one thing, but the way that it is being used by capitalists is very concerning, too.
I can't get off of my camera. My remote just stopped working.
Oh,
Oh, there we go. There we
you
go.
go. Oh my
All right.
gosh, this is my face again. Okay, so yeah, that is the scarier part, in my opinion, that they are being used by the capitalists to make more profits, and nobody cares actually about how many life of human beings being affected and will be affected by those things.
Yeah, we're just basically the way capitalism works is they just open the bottle and spray everything all over everybody.
As long as that bottle can make the money.
Yeah, or even if they just think they might make profits. I mean, I don't know how anybody's gonna make money at this point with the chlorine gas recipes and that sort of thing. It seems like more like at this point, you're definitely opening yourself up more to liability than like profits, I think, in trusting large language models. If I ran a company that relied on written content, I would be extremely weary about how to implement these large language models. Now, I'm not saying nobody should use them, but boy howdy, are they not trustworthy. I don't know. I mean, I've played with them, I've experimented with them, and I found them more or less useless. Even with things like summarizing articles, they just don't.
No,
they don't know what
They
the most
can't.
important information is.
Yeah, they can't.
They just don't do anything right. I just don't. I mean, I think that what they might be useful for is like formatting and stuff. I don't know. I really don't even know. Some people might be better at using them. I don't know. Maybe it's a skill. One of the reasons I'm playing with it is because I don't want to get left behind. I feel like if it's a skill that needs to be cultivated, I want to have the skill, but I just haven't found a use case for them yet. All right. That's it. That's all I got to say about AI today. Anybody else? Anything in the chat?
Probably AI.
AI restaurant reviews are being published, Tubbo. There's a really great one on McDonald's, if you can find it, where it tells you what a hamburger is, in case you didn't know what a hamburger was. All right, moving on. What do we want to do next? Google is paying $155 million in settlement. So we can stay in the technology vein. Let me just share the screen here. All right. Google to pay $155 million. Linda, put it on screen.
Yes.
I can't.
Here we go.
Google's paying Are you checking your Twitter over there?
No.
I think you were.
I just trying to close a possible stream links.
All right.
It won't take the internet, and
All
I just
right.
accidentally click there. Oh my goodness.
All right. Google to pay $155 million in settlements over location tracking by Jonathan Stempel. So Google paid $155 million to settle these claims by California and private plaintiffs that the search engine company misled consumers about how it tracks their locations and used their data without consent.
Whoa.
Both settlements resolve claims that the Alphabet Incorporated unit deceived people into believing they maintain control over how Google collected and used their personal data. First of all, the first question is, how do I get in on this class action suit?
Yeah.
I'm sure they've misused my data.
Yeah.
You got to be in California to get in on it. The company was accused of being able to profile people and target them with advertising. Oh, by the way, this is from MSN. An AI might have written this.
Yes, exactly.
Both settlements resolve claims that the Alphabet unit deceived people into believing they maintain control over how Google collected and used their personal data. The company was accused of being able to profile people and target them with advertising, even if they turned off their location history setting and deceive people about their ability to block ads that they do not want. Google was telling its users one thing, that it would no longer track their location once they opted out, but doing the opposite and continuing to track its users' movements for its commercial gain. That's unacceptable.
Gosh.
So the settlement requires Google to pay out $93 million and disclose more about how it tracks people's whereabouts and uses data it collects. $93 million, of course, is a tiny drop in a massive bucket for Google.
Yeah.
So this is like a
Google made
slap on
like,
the wrist.
I don't know, I remember something about $40 billion profit last year or something. I could be wrong, but it's
Look
a
it
lot
up.
of money.
Go Google it. How much money did Google make in 2022? Put net profits. Let's go with the
Yeah.
net. Money from Google's $62 million settlement with private plaintiffs would, after deducting legal fees, go to court-approved nonprofit groups that track internet privacy concerns. Lawyers for the plaintiffs said this made sense because it was unfeasible to distribute money to the approximately 247.7 million U.S. adults. I beg to differ. I don't even care. I want my 50-cent check from Google.
The alphabet net income.
Yeah.
The annual net income for 2023 is actually 60 billion.
23 or 22?
22. 60 billion.
Okay. So $60 billion. What, you want to do the math on that?
Yeah.
What is $150 million? What percentage is that of
Oh
60
my
billion?
gosh. It's so small.
Our
It's
chat
like-
might get it before you can.
Yeah, exactly. I believe my chat. I'm not gonna try.
What's it? All right, I'll do it. I'm not going to make the chat do our calculation. 60, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 0.0025% of the net profits of Google. That's net, right?
That's net.
0.0025% of the
Wow.
net profits of Google.
Great. Wow.
That's even less
Woo.
impacting than I thought.
It's laughable.
I hope I did that math right. The chat will tell us if I was wrong. I'll tell you that right
exactly.
now. All right. It's with all those zeros, though, it's easy to make a mistake. But I think it's 0.0025. All right. $60 billion is a lot of dang money.
Right. And that's just for 1 year.
So, all right. What's the real point here, though? It's that these corporations that have your data are using it in ways that they're not disclosing. They're lying. They're liars. They're dirty capitalists. Don't trust them. And especially if you're a politically dissident in nature, if you're a communist or an anarchist and you oppose the bourgeois democratic state in any way, be very careful with what you share on these platforms.
Exactly.
On things like Google and Discord and
always be cautious about it.
yeah, I mean anything that's owned by a corporation, remember that they are the class enemy and they can and will use your information against you.
Exactly.
I mean, if they're using your personal data for advertising, right? You don't.
It is very creepy. It is true because like whenever I just accidentally said some words, about Barack or something, immediately on my phone and my laptop, I got bombarded with that exact kind of same,
Yeah, I mean, I've always been skeptical about that whole thing about the using your microphone for advertising, just because the only reason I say I'm skeptical about that is because if they did get caught doing that, it would be like a huge deal.
Yeah.
But they just got caught with the location data and nobody seems to really care. I had to scroll down my Google News quite a bit to even find that story. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too trusting even myself.
Maybe.
But the point of the matter is just don't trust these people with your data. I mean, we already know that the cops build backdoors into all these systems and use them. And anyway, it is rough stuff. DJ Adam, thank you for the super chat.
Hey.
Appreciate it very much. If you meant to include a message, just type it in the chat. Well, here's a message from DJ Adam. We'll read it either way. I wonder if Google's parent company Alphabet has expanded its regime change ops. I mean, I can't prove that Google has been involved in regime changes, but I know for a fact that like Elon Musk has been involved with geopolitical activity. We're gonna talk about that a little bit more later. Yeah, I mean, they have to have been. Well, they've been involved with all kinds of geopolitical activity now that I think about it. They have a lot of shenanigans going on with China. Maybe the chat knows some more examples, concrete examples, but I mean, anyway, thank you so much for the super chat, DJ Adam. And yeah, these corporations. Look, I spent the last like 3 months studying the origins of fascism in Europe and the ways in which the Nazis and Mussolini took power and Franco. I'm doing research now, and my next video is going to be about a guy named Friedrich Flick, and he was a Nazi industrialist. And the way that these things get started is it's a little bit sobering to read how these things got started in like Nazi Germany, because Flick was like a steel industrialist, steel baron. And
call it the heavy industrial.
yeah, and basically, there's a reason I'm talking about this, but basically Flick was a Nazi, and he used his relationship with the Nazi party and by extension with the state to benefit himself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to get, so once Germany occupied France, he was able to get all this all these manufacturing facilities in France for free from the Nazi party, basically as a gift. And he made billions and billions of dollars. And he used slave labor from Soviet prisoners of war, and probably other people too, but I just know that I've read about the Soviets being used as slave labor. And then after the war, he was convicted at the Nuremberg trials of crimes against humanity.
Wow.
He was sentenced to only 7 years.
How? Crimes against humanity were only 7 years.
He only served 3 years.
Okay.
The only party that seized assets from him was the Soviets in East Germany. They took 75% of his assets. In West Germany, they let him keep his assets, and then 3 years into his sentence, the American administrator of West Germany freed him and gave him back his plants and said, hey, we need your help making heavy industry and shit like that. And they put him back to work, and he became the richest person in Germany, and he died an extremely wealthy person, and his descendants are very wealthy today, all because of his Nazi crimes against humanity, which he was never truly punished for in the West. In East Germany, he did have 75% of his, 100% of the assets he had in East Germany were seized by the Soviets, and he lost those. But yeah, there was no justice served in the West at all. And the reason I'm talking about this is because it's the exact same thing we have going on right now. When we talk about Elon Musk later, you'll see these capitalists are politically active. They want you to think that they're not. You'll never have a spotlight put on these people, on Jeff Bezos or Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, where they challenge them about these things. But they all have their hands in the government, okay? The bourgeois, the reason we call it bourgeois democracy is because the bourgeoisie controls it. It's simple. It's obvious to anybody who studies the history and looks at what's going on right now. It's absolutely obvious. All right, let's see. Before we move on, I'm kind of hankering to get into the Elon Musk story, but there's a few things we want to get through. So, okay, let's talk about this for a second. I don't have a ton to say about this, but I think it's worth talking about because there are a lot of people participating in this right now. I don't know if Luna's aware about this. The climate protests?
I'm not.
All right, throw this on screen.
Okay.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm already... Just stop. Stop. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right, hold on. We're gonna have to do an archive that today or some crap because this is being persnickety.
I mean, those corporations, they do need our money, huh?
What do you mean?
Constantly ask us for subscriptions.
Oh, right. Well, the sad thing is that I even have a... All right, here we go. It's just I don't want to be logged in on this browser. Okay, there is a archive.today of it. Okay, you can share it on screen again. All right, so climate protesters around the world sharpen their message and head to New York. Ahead of the UN meetings this week, thousands are marching through Midtown to demand that President Biden and other world leaders stop new oil and gas drilling. And you can see there are a lot of people participating.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of young people, which is, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. Tens of thousands of people, including students, retirees, scientists, politicians, and celebrities, began to fill the streets of Midtown Manhattan on Sunday to demand that world leaders quickly pivot away from the fossil fuels that are dangerously heating up the planet. Sunday's demonstrations were part of a weekend of large peaceful protests in Germany, England, Senegal, South Korea, India, elsewhere, mostly led by young people. Rather than taking meaningful climate action, the government is supporting the fossil fuel industry to prioritize corporate interests and groups of power, said Borim Kim, I would guess that's Borim Kim, who helped organize the event in Samchuk, South Korea, where protesters marched along a road next to coal trucks and stood in front of the city's newest coal-fired power plant. They want to end fossil fuels. They signaled the flashpoint looming over the United Nations meeting this week. In order to solve the climate crisis, we have to stop our reliance on fossil fuels, said Emma Beretta, 17, a New York high school student. A lot of previous climate marches haven't focused on that. The protests indicate a shift in message and tone from climate advocates who have grown increasingly frustrated at the continued expansion of fossil fuels. According to scientific models, as well as projections by the International Energy Agency, nations must stop new oil, gas, and coal projects if the world is to stay within relatively safe levels of atmospheric warming. See how they've shifted the rhetoric?
Yeah.
We have to stay within relatively safe levels of warming. There is no safe level of global warming.
Yeah.
There is or global climate change, I should say. There is no safe level. Okay, any degree of global climate change causes death and destruction.
They just throw like a total new concept without even check it. Like what?
Now, that's something the Republicans would have been saying 15 years ago, and you know, like the far right. Now it's like the New York Times liberals are saying the same thing.
Liberals are like, you know, doing the climate change deniers a favor.
Now, this is important. Just this year, President Biden has already approved the Mountain Valley Pipeline, the Willow Project, and many other mega projects in the USA and probably around the world, presumably. Well, you know, certainly participating in that through imperialist activity. Scientists have said the only way we can actually stop the tragedies that we're feeling right now is to stop the expansion and phase out. So we're here today to tell our leaders loud and clear, you need to phase out fossil fuels. So here's the thing. All right. I mean, God bless the people who are protesting. I'm not against the protests at all.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We have to understand as communists, as people who want radical revolutionary change, and people who understand how the world actually works, who is more powerful? That crowd of young people who are passionately filling the streets to protest climate change? Or Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, the Koch brothers, Shell Oil, BP?
Absolutely.
Who's more powerful?
The second batch of people is more powerful.
In fact, the capitalists have all the power, and the people have no power.
Yes.
It's theater, really, at the end of the day. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad. I think it's good. I think it's good that you have these big demonstrations. I'm for them. I'm for these kinds of activities. But they cannot be, they're really only the beginning. They must be considered like the very, very beginning. It's essentially like advertising for the real movement. And the real movement has to be radically organizing, building communist organizations and parties, mutual aid groups, building networks of organizations, collaborating more between these organizations, and building power. We have to build power. Because, to be honest, the sentiment is there, the passion is there, but we don't have the organization, we don't have the structure, we don't have the organizational development. And that's something I just wanted to bring that up, because I don't want people to buy into the idea that just going out and protesting is enough by any stretch of the imagination.
Exactly. It's not. It's just it's just a start of something.
Yeah.
But we have to do, you know, way more work after that if we really want to have some change.
Yeah. So wherever you are in the world, if you know people who are getting involved in these kinds of protests and stuff, there is a good recruiting pool for you to try to radicalize into actual organizing activities. And if you're not involved with organized activity yourself, and you don't have some kind of collective group, party, something that you belong to and that you're working with, do it. Get involved. Do not act alone.
Yeah.
You are worthless. Essentially, you are useless as an individual. I'm sorry to say, hurts my feelings too, hurts my fifis too. I wish that as an individual I mattered, but I don't.
Yeah, right.
None of us matter as individuals in this context. In the
None
sense
of
that
us as individual matters unless we are billionaire.
if you're a billionaire or a capitalist,
Then we
then
matter
sure,
a lot.
the government cares about your personal agenda. And in fact, you have sway and power over the government. But we, the working class, as individuals, we don't have that kind of power. That's why we must band together. Now, I'm not saying that the individual doesn't matter at all and must be subservient to the collective, and I'm an authoritarian, totalitarian. No, I'm saying that you don't have power as an individual. Sorry, I don't have power. You know, Luna and I together, we have like almost a couple 100,000 subscribers, but as individuals, we have no power whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because we are just individuals. The only way you can have power is through collective activity. That's all there is to it. And the only potential energy that we have with our platforms, and Luna and I, we know this, is reaching out to you and encouraging you to get involved in collective organized activity. Now, something that would really, I hate to be a broken record. If you watch the stream every week, maybe you're sick of hearing this, but if you really want to understand how to build an organization, you first have to understand the principles of development. You have to understand how things move and change and affect each other in this world. And that means, to me, I believe it means studying dialectical materialism, which is a philosophy that is strictly focused on understanding how things are defined by internal and external relationships and how development and change processes work. If you can understand those concepts, then you can really start to get out there and affect the world. And you can get Luna's translation of the Dialectical Materialism book for free. The ebook is free at bannionhouse.org. There's a banner, Luna, if you can just find the shop. Bannionhouse, bannionhouse.org/shop. You can get the book for free, the ebook. And part 2 is coming out relatively soon, hopefully within a couple months is what we're trying to do.
We're working on it real hard every day.
Yeah. There's 4 parts of the series total. But anyway, so I hope that you will consider learning dialectical materialism, because I do think it will make you understand exactly why collective action is so important, and it will make you a better and more scientific socialist.
EJ, Phạm Mỹ just complimented you.
Uh-oh. Is it a backward or a forward compliment? Best voice actor ever. Oh my goodness. That's a lot of pressure.
Kermit the Frog or, Jordan Peterson.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows? And why don't you clean your room?
There are only 12 rules.
And I only eat steak. Now go and get your broom. 12 Rules to Live By is a book that I wrote. It is unhinged, you will see. Someday we'll find it.
The
The-
clean room.
And the Dragon of Chaos. The poets, the dreamers, and me, Jordan the Frog. All right. So if you don't know what I was talking about, good. You are lucky to not know about Jordan and the Chaos Dragon. All right, moving on. Oh, by the way, I don't have this pulled up. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
You have 3 seconds. 3, 2.
All right.
1.
Stop. I found it.
Okay, good.
There's nothing I love more than your obnoxious countdowns.
The whole point is being obnoxious.
All right, we were just talking about climate
Obviously.
change. We were just talking about climate change. Let's
Climate
talk.
change.
Now this is this
Here
thing
we
is
go.
going absolutely wild. Okay, so this is one of the things. Climate change is causing a lot of destruction and death in the world right now. We all know about the natural disasters that are occurring in Libya and around that region. And right now, Libyan flood survivors are having to weigh water shortages against landmine risk. Now, remember that the USA is currently, right now, giving landmines to Ukraine, along with cluster ammunition.
Yes.
And landmines and cluster ammunition have the same.
And lead-based.
Oh, not
bullets.
lead, not lead.
Oh,
Worse,
not lead.
Depleted uranium.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Depleted
Remember
uranium.
that is worse.
All bullets are
Depleted
lead. Most bullets are
uranium.
lead. These are depleted uranium.
Literally, like crimes against humanity, right there.
So, but cluster bombs and landmines have the same problem, which is that they both become unexploded ordnance. And then for generations after the war ends, you'll have mostly farmers and children getting maimed and, losing their lives to this unexploded ordnance. And this is happening in Libya right now. People whose homes were swept away by flooding in Libya's eastern city of Derna a week ago faced the dilemma on Sunday of whether to stay and risk infection or flee through areas where landmines have been displaced by the torrents. So, the flood's coming through and it's digging up all these landmines and depositing them, God knows where. Thousands of people were killed after 2 dams of Derna broke on September 10th during a powerful storm, bringing down residential blocks lining a usually dry riverbed as people slept. Many bodies have been washed out to sea. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said that approximately 11,300 people have died, more than double the figure given by the International Organization for Migration on Friday.
Gosh.
The Libyan Red Crescent, which OCHA cited for data, distanced itself from the report, but OCHA stood by it. More than 1,000 have already been buried in mass graves, according to the United Nations, and aid groups have warned against the practice. Libyan authorities have confirmed that 150 people have been poisoned by polluted water in the flood-hit areas. After the floods, epidemics occur. Sunrise on Sunday revealed a scene of quiet devastation with piles of rubble cleared to the sides of empty roads. Hamad Awad sat on a blanket on an empty street with a bottle of water and bedding alongside him. I'm staying in our area, trying to clean it and trying to verify who's missing, he said. Thank God for giving us patience. So, yeah, I mean, it's just pretty bad. It's pretty terrible. And the destructive nature of the capitalist thirst for war is compounding the destructive nature of capitalist climate devastation. Once again, going back to dialectical materialism, these things have a dialectical relationship with each other.
Yeah.
One of the number one carbon emitter in the world is the United States military.
Yeah.
By far. And so, you know, the military is helping to contribute to climate disaster. The military is enforcing the interests of capitalists who are completely responsible for the climate disaster.
Yeah.
And the climate disaster is made worse by war and the implements of war.
The U.S. military, you know, like is the biggest, you know, CO2 emission in the world. And also, you know what? A few days ago, I saw a tweet from ex-president, former President Barack Obama, and he called for donations to help Libya people. Mm-hmm. And you're like, you know, the message is okay, I guess, but like speaking from a dude that literally bombed Libya in his 2 terms, like hypocrite.
I mean, where do you think those landmines are coming from, you know?
Yeah.
Now, here's a question, Luna. I mean, well, I guess not a question, but I wanted to get your reaction to this because this dialectical relationship between climate devastation and war is something that impacted Vietnam very greatly and is continuing to impact Vietnam. I wondered if you had some thoughts on that.
It's I mean, it's devastating. It's like, you know, the what the wars can do, not to just human beings, because that's obvious. It's crimes against humanity, but it affects the climate, affect the wildlife for generations, not just years or decades. It's for generations. And Vietnam, to this day, is 50 years after the war already. We still have hundreds of barrels of toxins that contain, you know, dioxin that we had to bury them under the ground. And every few years, we have to dig them up all again and change a new cover because, like, it's so acidic that, like, you know, it's like it's toxic. It's so toxic. It eat off the silicone barrel that we have for them. And like that is the thing that what can we do? We cannot just ship them back to USA because there's no way they will take it. What can we do with that? And there's no way to deal with that than just like cover them real carefully and just bury them under the ground. That is why there's still vast, you know, land of Vietnam that cannot be used for any farming because it's totally contaminated. And that is just a small part of it. The other part is unexploded bombs. You know, like nearly every single month in Vietnam, we would find a huge bomb buried somewhere in Vietnam, both in the jungle and in the cities. And we had to evacuate like thousands of people to dig them up. And usually like the teams, the military teams who work on doing like dealing with unexploded bomb, you know what? They don't even bother to wear any armor because it just doesn't help anyway. So if they have to be really careful and they literally sacrifice their life doing that, knowing that it could be a good chance that one will explode any moment. And it is really devastating to think about it. And now seeing that thing never stop, like the USA never learned a lesson. I mean, we are hopeless. We are helpless. You know, we are the victims. And I'm sorry, but you are in the belly of the beast. And the burden is on your shoulders to do something because we are here on our side of the earth. And there's no way for us to stop if the USA one day just decide to bring a drones or an airplane full of bombs and drop on us. It is on you. I'm sorry. We have to count on you.
And so, I mean, yeah, and Luna, I would also want to mention the deforestation from the war. the
Exactly.
napalm
Yeah.
and the Agent Orange and other toxins
The Agent Orange
devastated
was firstly used as the kind
defoliant.
of toxin to kill all the plants and all the crops.
Mhm.
The point was to kill all the forests of Vietnam, so the Viet Cong will have no place to hide, and that was devastating to the environment to this day. And if you really like in my last mooncast, I talk about those environmentalists that care so much on the environment and wildlife animals. I never heard them criticize the USA for using those toxins on Vietnam. Instead, they just look at Vietnam today with all the problems we have to deal with, despite the fact that Vietnam is a country that has the highest reforestation rate in Asia. More than half our country, 56%, is covered in jungle, but most of them are still, really young. And we are trying to protect our wildlife animal from that. But they just point out at us and blame communists for all the problem, and they never,
which is absurd because Vietnam has the fastest reforestation rate in all of Asia right now.
Yes.
So Vietnam is taking this very seriously and takes the reforestation very seriously. And part of the reason for the success is that they put the ethnic minorities or whoever is native to the local area in charge of the reforestation effort, and that's been very successful. So anyway, all this stuff is dialectically related. Now let's talk about these. I gotta avoid the swear jar here. These monsters who are responsible for destroying our planet, the capitalist class. Have you seen this, Luna, this video? Let me share it real quick on screen. You might want to put your headphones on. Yeah. All right, this is absolutely chilling what you're about to hear.
Okay.
Share it on the screen. Luna, share it.
Yes.
We got to get into a rhythm of this.
I forgot.
Because once I put it up, it hides it from me. Okay.
Yeah,
all right. You see the video?
Yes, I see it.
All right. Let me
full screen it.
Yeah. I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years. And we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
That is just chilling to me. And here's the thing. This is so reminiscent of the rhetoric that fascist industrialists used in Italy and in Nazi Germany. When, and specifically the excuses that they made for why they were supporting fascists was because they said that, they were opposed to organized labor and the Nazis were the ones that put them in check. If you watch the video, our second to last video at Non-Compete, Parenti and the Functions of Fascism, Luna, can you find a link to that and show it in the chat, throw it in the chat? It literally has quotes from fascists saying exactly this kind of stuff, which is I think that the Nazis are the best at essentially suppressing organized labor.
Yeah.
And certainly that's one of the reasons why the guy I was talking about earlier, Friedrich Flick, supported the Nazi Party.
Yeah.
And, if you read a lot of bourgeois historian records about this stuff from the West, they will actually excuse the Nazis and they will excuse the Nazi industrialists, and they'll say, oh, I was just reading some academic literature last night, and it was saying, the capitalists and the industrialists in Nazi Germany, they didn't support the Nazis because they themselves were Nazis. They supported the Nazis because the Nazis were anti-communists, and they didn't want communists organizing the labor force. Now, if you look at the history in Italy, in 1918, 1919, communists were occupying factories and forcing them to change the terms of contracts and that sort of thing through literal force, through occupying armed occupation of factories. And you can find pictures of Italian Red Guards where they have, you know, weapons and they're occupying these factories. They were really starting to take some control and build power. And then you had Italian industrialists. Mussolini's first act was to basically suppress organized labor at an Italian heavy industry factory. They were called the Peroni brothers, were the capitalists who owned that. I can't remember the name of the factory, but anyway. So there's this. So this is fascism. I mean, what this person's talking about is essentially fascism. I mean, there's no way to deny it. This person is a fascist, like most billionaires. Let's just go through that again. I want to go through it one more time because you might have missed some of the worst parts.
Exactly.
So let's go through it one more time. I think Luna was struggling to hear it, by the way. So that's what it is.
I was really struggling because my headphone was really low.
All right, so let's go through this one more time. Let's talk about what this monster is saying. And this is Tim Gurner.
That we've had is that
Wait a minute.
Yeah, we.
Okay. Good.
All right. We'll go through it line by line because I really want to make sure you understand what this jerk is saying.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID.
They didn't want to work through COVID. That's a bad thing to this person.
Yeah.
Who cares about the pandemic that's killing millions of people? We need your ass at work, in the office, being productive so I can make more profits.
And that has had a massive issue on productivity. You know, tradies have definitely pulled back on product.
Tradies. Tradies. That's what they're calling tradespeople. That's what this person's calling tradespeople. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity.
You know, they have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change.
Tradies have been paid a lot to do not too much. What about capitalists? What about you? You know? Oh my God. Like, you think you don't get paid a lot to do not too much?
We need to see unemployment rise.
We need to see unemployment rise.
50%.
Unemployment has to jump 40 to 50%. Why? Because that gives the capitalists all the power. Which, you know, they already have all the power, but that gives them like complete domination. It crushes any hope for organized labor.
In my view, we need to see pain in the economy.
We need to see pain in the economy.
That they work for.
They need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around.
The employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them.
Now that's called class consciousness.
Exactly.
So as class consciousness builds, you can see now that the capitalists are getting scared and they're openly talking about how they're planning to crush class consciousness in the working class movement.
As opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global...
Hurting the economy, by the way, translates to like people dying.
Yeah, right.
You know, like suffering and dying. Like seriously, this person is a monster. But
you know, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world.
Now he's telling the truth here. The governments are trying to suppress the workers too.
Yeah.
They're trying to increase unemployment
to some sort of normality, and we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment.
Less arrogance in the employer and the employees. What about this freaking arrogant
we are? Oh my God.
Like said the most arrogant person.
Yeah, look at that smug face.
Now listen, I mean, this person's obviously a real monster and doesn't even mind the world seeing it. But I want you to understand this. He's no different from all the other billionaires. He's just being more honest. Like, he is Frank the Honest Capitalist from my puppet shows. He is just telling the truth, okay? Yes, he's a monster. Yes, he's a class enemy, like all billionaires. But he's absolutely no different from Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or any of the other billionaire capitalists out there. They're all like this. It's just that they are better at PR, basically. I can't, I don't know why this guy just decided he was just going to go mask off, but it's absolutely chilling. And I wanted to play that before we jump into our main topic, which is Elon Musk's shadow rule via the New Yorker. Now I hope I don't have to. Am I going to have to go and like get around this paywall or something? Looks so far so good. So far so good. Okay. Oh,
There you go.
get out of here. Get out of here. All right, you got out of here. Let's just knock on wood that I can actually read this article. The paywalling of information has just gotten
Yeah, I
so
mean,
bad.
It just got worse in the last year, I gotta say. Every single one of them daily now.
Yannick said, I don't know if this is your new normal setup or if it's a special occasion, but it's looking very classy. Thank you so much.
Hey.
This is the new normal, at least for now. Actually, I'm about to be traveling for a couple months, so we won't be using the fancy set for a couple months. So enjoy it while you can. We can also look at what we can do. Yannick, I don't know if you caught this. We can do close-ups. Look at this. We got multi-cameras going on over here. Luna, what do you think about the? It never wants to cut to Luna for some reason.
That's it. That's.
Come on. Oh, nobody wants to see me for the rest of the show. Come on. We got to get this fixed. There we go. Oh, there's Luna suddenly.
That's weird. Okay. Hi, everybody.
We need Grant. We usually have Grant, the producer, and switching the cameras. We don't have Grant, and we are lost and alone in the darkness. Okay, let's read about Elon Musk's shadow rule. So I don't think we're going to have time to read this whole article. It would take an hour to read the whole article, so we'll just try to skip through as much as we can.
No way I want to finish the article by Elon Musk.
Last October, Colin Kahl, then Undersecretary of Defense for Policy at the Pentagon, sat in a hotel in Paris and prepared to make a call to avert disaster in Ukraine. A staffer handed him an iPhone, in part to avoid inviting an onslaught of late-night texts and colorful emojis on Kahl's own phone. Kahl had returned to his room with its heavy drapery and distant view of the Eiffel Tower after a day of meetings with officials from the UK, France, and Germany. A senior defense official told me that Kahl was surprised by whom he was about to contact. He was like, "Why am I calling Elon Musk?" The reason soon became apparent. Even though Musk is not technically a diplomat or statesman, I felt it was important to treat him as such given the influence he had on the issue. SpaceX, Musk's space exploration company, had for months been providing internet access across Ukraine, allowing the country's forces to plan attacks and to defend themselves. But in recent days, the forces had found their connectivity severed as they entered territory contested by Russia. More alarmingly, SpaceX has given the Pentagon an ultimatum. If it didn't assume the cost of providing service in Ukraine, which the company calculated at some $400 million annually, it would cut off access. We started to get a little panicked, the senior defense official, one of the four who described standoff to me, recalled. A senior defense official of the United States of America, the most powerful military in the world, by magnitude, by an order of magnitude, is like nervous and panicking because of Elon Musk and what Elon Musk may or may not do. Let that sink in. Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, had given the Pentagon an ultimatum that they had to pay SpaceX for their services in Ukraine. That should shock the hell out of you.
I mean...
Musk had become involved in the war in Ukraine soon after Russia invaded in February 2022. Along with conventional assaults, the Kremlin was conducting cyber attacks against Ukraine's digital infrastructure. Ukrainian officials and a loose coalition of expatriates in the tech sector, brainstorming in group chats on WhatsApp and Signal, found a potential solution. SpaceX, which manufactures a line of mobile internet terminals called Starlink. We know what Starlink is. The units have limited range. 3 people involved in bringing Starlink to Ukraine, all of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity because they worried that Musk, if upset, could withdraw his services, told me they originally overlooked the significance of his personal control. And this is it. Everyone underestimates the power of billionaires every single time. Nobody thought about it back then, one of them, the Ukrainian tech executive, told me. It was all about, let's effing go. People are dying. Now, it doesn't matter what your thoughts are on the war, by the way. It doesn't matter what your thoughts are on the war. This is terrifying, no matter your perspective, that billionaires have this much control. And they have this much control, not just in the USA, but also in Ukraine and in Russia. Okay? If you don't think that Ukrainian capitalists and Russian capitalists have the same kind of control and power, then you don't understand how capitalist and bourgeois democracy works. It's the essential backbone of communication on the battlefield. Starlink is. Initially, Musk showed unreserved support for the Ukrainian cause, responding encouragingly as Mikhailo Fedorov, the Ukrainian Minister of Digital Transformation, tweeted pictures of equipment in the field. But as the war ground on, SpaceX began to balk at the cost. We're not in a position to further donate terminals to Ukraine or fund the existing terminals for an indefinite period of time, SpaceX's director of government sales told the Pentagon in a letter last September. I like this little side note. CNBC recently valued SpaceX at nearly $150 billion. Forbes estimated Musk's personal net worth at $220 billion, making him the world's richest man. Musk was also growing increasingly uneasy with the fact that technology was being used for warfare. That month at a conference in Aspen attended in business and political figures, Musk even appeared to express support for Vladimir Putin. He was on stage and he said, "We should be negotiating. Putin wants peace. We should be negotiating peace with Putin." Reid Hoffman, who helped start PayPal with Musk, recalled Musk seemed to have recalled. That's what Reid Hoffman recalled. Musk seemed, he said, to have bought what Putin was selling, hook, line, and sinker. A week later, Musk tweeted a proposal for his own peace plan, which called for a new referendum to redraw borders of Ukraine and granted Russia control of Crimea. The semi-autonomous peninsula. Okay, we can skip ahead. By then, Musk's sympathies appeared to be manifesting on the battlefield. One day, Ukrainian officers advancing into contested areas in the south found themselves suddenly unable to communicate. This is why, by the way, we as revolutionaries must not rely on capitalist platforms for our operations, because they can pull the plug on us at any moment or deplatform us or kick us off. I mean, if they can kick the Ukrainian military off whenever they're so tied together with NATO and the U.S. military-industrial complex, imagine what they can do to a communist organization, right? I warn people about this all the time. I talk about it all the time that, like, we really need to get off these capitalist platforms, but it's like sometimes I feel like I'm shouting into a void when I'm talking to the people I organize with. It's like I'm the only one who seems to really not want to be using capitalist platforms for organizing sometimes. But the reason why is obvious. It's simple. It feels free, even though like they're selling your data and stealing your data and that sort of thing. It feels
tracking
free.
you where you go.
And it feels safe because they have all this money and they talk about how safe and secure they are all the time, but it's not. Okay, anyway, it was chaos. Ukrainian expats who had raised funds for the Starlink units began receiving frantic calls. The tech executive recalls a Ukrainian military official telling him, "We need Elon now." "How now?" he replied. "Like, fucking now," the official replied. "People are dying." Another Ukrainian involved told me that he was awoken by a dozen calls saying they'd lost connectivity and had to retreat. So anyway, you get the story. You get the point there. The senior defense official said, "We had a whole series of meetings internal to the department to try to figure out what we could do about this." You just keep asking yourself, who's really in control here?
Yeah, right.
Who's really in
the
control?
head of defense of the USA or Elon Musk, a nobody billionaire.
Typically, such a negotiation would be handled by the Pentagon's acquisitions department. That's almost like absurdly quaint to think that like some purchasing officer is going to be dealing with Elon Musk. But Musk had become more than just a vendor like Boeing, Lockheed, or other defense industry behemoths. On the phone with Musk from Paris, call was deferential, according to unclassified talking points for the call. He thanked Musk for his efforts in Ukraine, acknowledged the steep costs he'd incurred, and pleaded for even a few weeks to devise a contract. "If you cut this off, it doesn't end the war," Call recalled telling Musk. Musk wasn't immediately convinced. My inference was that he was getting nervous that Starlink's involvement was increasingly seen in Russia as enabling the Ukrainian war effort and was looking for a way to placate Russian concerns, Call told me. To the dismay of Pentagon officials, Musk volunteered that he had spoken with Putin personally.
Wow.
I don't think Joe Biden has spoken to Putin personally since this all began. But Putin apparently has a direct line. On the phone, Musk said that he was looking at his laptop and could see the entire war unfolding through a map of Starlink activity. This was like 3 minutes before he said, "Well, I had this great conversation with Putin." And we were like, "Oh, dear God, this is not good." After a 15-minute call, Musk agreed to give the Pentagon more time. He also, after public blowback and with evident annoyance, walked back his threats to cut off the service. "The hell with it," he tweeted. "Even though Starlink is still losing money and other companies are getting billions of taxpayer money." Oh, like you don't get billions in taxpayer money.
Right.
We all know that Musk and SpaceX specifically get billions in taxpayer money. But anyway, I digress. He's like playing the freaking victim. Poor me, poor little me. I don't get billions in taxpayer money.
Is the richest guy in the world.
"We'll keep funding the Ukrainian government for free," he tweeted. This June, the Department of Defense announced that it had reached a deal with SpaceX. The meddling of oligarchs and other moneyed interests in the fate of nations is not new. And by the way, yeah, I just want to make that clear. Elon Musk is an oligarch. We live in an oligarchy,
Yes.
period. During the First World War, J.P. Morgan lent vast sums to the Allied powers. Afterward, John D. Rockefeller poured money into the fledgling League of Nations. The investor George Soros's Open Society Foundation underwrote civil society reform in post-Soviet Europe, and the casino mogul Sheldon Adelson funded right-wing media in Israel as part of his support of Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, this is a liberal article because it doesn't talk about all the direct support that like Mussolini and Hitler got from even American corporations, or the admiration that Henry Ford had for the Nazis, or the fact that Henry Ford wrote anti-Semitic books and probably funded like the German-American Bund and other Nazi organizations in the USA. It doesn't even scratch the dang surface. But what would you expect from capitalist press? But Musk's influence is more brazen and expensive. There is little precedent for civilians becoming the arbiter of war between nations in such a granular way, or for the degree of dependency that the US now has on Musk in a variety of fields, from the future of energy and transportation to the exploration of space. The automaker has seeded so much of the country with its proprietary charging stations that the Biden administration relaxed an early push for a universal charging standard disliked by Musk. I mean, he's telling the president what to do. He's giving Joe Biden marching orders.
Yep.
His stations are eligible for billions of dollars in subsidies so long as Tesla makes them compatible with other charging standards. So again, I don't want to hear Elon Musk whining that other capitalists are getting billions in subsidies and he's not, because he is.
Yes. He is literally the richest man on earth. So
And billions of dollars of
he's
that
the
money came
last
from.
one on earth to whine about anti-rate money.
But but the point is he's getting the money directly from the government,
Oh.
like tax subsidies. He's getting subsidies. He's getting paychecks from the
And
government.
he's crying about, well, they funding a war, but they don't pay me. They better pay me before going to a war. Like, gosh, two of you, evil.
Now here's where we get into the bread and butter of the situation. In the past 20 years, against a backdrop of crumbling infrastructure and declining trust in institutions, Musk has sought out business opportunities in crucial areas where, after decades of privatization, the state has receded. Cashing in on that privatization. The government is now reliant on him, but struggles to respond to his risk-taking brinkmanship and caprice. Current and former officials from NASA, the department... See, I saw this freaking coming when NASA started to just basically kowtow to SpaceX.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not a good situation. The Department of Defense, I didn't realize how entangled they were with the DoD until recently. Department of Transportation, falling for the scams of like the Hyperloop, for instance, and the scam that electric vehicles are going to that electric personal vehicles are going to solve the problems that this country has with infrastructure. They're not. We need public transportation, but Elon Musk isn't going to let that happen. Federal Aviation Administration and the Occupational Safety and Health Administration told me that Musk's influence had become inescapable in their work, and several of them said they now treat him like a sort of unelected official. Remember all along, throughout all of this, by the way, that Elon Musk is a fascist.
Yep.
Elon Musk loves to platform fascists. He loves to play around and engage and have fun with fascists on Twitter. I'm not going to call it that ding-dong name, that one-letter name. It's Twitter. He loves to play around with fascists on Twitter. He is a fascist. He has a fascist agenda. He is pushing this fascist agenda. And it's terrifying. Okay, he is an unelected official. He is a fascist. This is exactly what we saw in the buildup to the fascist overtaking of Italy and Germany. And I mean, it's just the same pattern. It's the same like dark pattern we're seeing. One Pentagon spokesman said that he was keeping Musk apprised of my inquiries about his role in Ukraine, literally saying, I'm going to let Musk know that you're interviewing me about this. A Pentagon official didn't feel comfortable going on the record and has to go back and report back to Musk that he was interviewed. Sir, a reporter called about you. I hope that doesn't make you too mad, Mr. Musk, said a freaking Pentagon official. He would grant an interview with an official about the matter only with Musk's permission. Mr. Musk, would you mind if I talk to this reporter? What should I say to him? You don't think he asked that question?
Gosh.
You don't think he asked Elon Musk what should he say
Yeah,
or for permission to talk?
exactly.
Come on. Pentagon spokesperson getting marching orders from Elon Musk on talking to the press. We'll talk to you if Elon wants us to, he told me. In a podcast interview last year, Musk was asked whether he has more influence within the American government. He replied immediately, in some ways. Reid Hoffman told me that Musk's attitude is like Louis XIV. L'état c'est moi. The state is me. Musk's power continues to grow. His takeover of Twitter, which he rebranded, but no one cares, no one's going to call it that, gives him a critical forum for political discourse ahead of the next presidential election. Although hopefully that's receding a little bit. I mean, hopefully Twitter just becomes a dead meme at some point soon. He recently launched an artificial intelligence company, a move that follows years of involvement in the technology. Musk has become a hyper-exposed pop culture figure, and his sharp turn from altruistic to vainglorious, strategic to impulsive, have been the subject of innumerable articles in at least 7 major books, including a forthcoming biography by Walter Isaacson. What are you going to say? This asshole inherited an emerald mine from his rich dad, and then he became a fascist shadow president. The end. There you go. I wrote the biography.
He is a deep state.
Yeah. So the deep state thing, it's like, yeah, shadow government, deep state. It's not a conspiracy theory.
It's not.
That's just capitalism.
It's the oligarchy we're talking about. It's capitalism.
And by the way, that's not just us saying that, by the way. That's the capitalists saying it. We just watched the video in which a capitalist is saying directly, yeah, the capitalists are controlling the government and they're causing unemployment to spike. That's our doing. We like it. We like workers to suffer. The tradies, we like the tradies to suffer. We're not just saying this. The capitalists know it and they admit it. Elon Musk even admitted it. In some ways, I'm more powerful than the president, said Elon Musk. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, with whom Musk has both worked and sparred, told me, Elon desperately wants the world to be saved, but only if he can be the one to save it.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, capitalism is nothing if not just the maximum degree of enabling the worst narcissistic megalomaniacs in human history to have complete control over our world. The terms of the Starlink deal have not been made public. Ukrainian officials say that they have not faced further service interruptions, but Musk has continued to express ambivalence about how the technology is being used and where it can be deployed. In February, he tweeted, "We will not enable escalation of conflict that may lead to World War III. We're trying hard to do the right thing, where the right thing is an extremely difficult moral question." The capitalists should not be making these kinds of moral questions, period. Nor should the bourgeois state.
Shady is Australian slang for plumbers,
Yeah,
builders,
tradespeople.
painters. Yeah,
That-
tradespeople.
I don't think that it's necessarily, look, I'm familiar with that, and because I watch a lot of like Australian and New Zealander content, and I don't think that it's typically meant in a disparaging manner by most people who use that word. But when this asshole uses it, like
Yeah,
he doesn't get to say that word,
asshole uses it,
He doesn't get to say
You know
that
what
word.
he meant.
especially in the context that he was saying.
Yeah.
So it's like dismissive. It's like, oh, they work for us, those tradies. Like, it's that he's looking down on them, absolutely. So I don't like the way he used that. I don't like his tone. Let's put it that way.
Nobody likes it.
To quote my mom, I don't like your tone. All right. Musk recently acknowledged to the Financial Times that Beijing disapproves of his decision to provide internet service to Ukraine and has sought assurances that he would not deploy similar technology in China. In the same interview, he responded to questions about China's efforts to assert control over Taiwan by floating another peace plan. Taiwan, he suggested, could become a jointly controlled administrative zone. So, like, why is Musk at this table at all? That's so annoying to me. During a trip to Beijing this spring, Musk was welcomed with what Reuters summarized as flattery and feasts. He met with senior officials, including China's foreign minister, and posed for the kinds of awkwardly smiling formal photos that are more typical of world leaders. All right, I don't know. That might be some propagandistic
This is a
reaching.
long article, huh?
Yeah. There's so many good quotes in here, though.
I know.
I mean, you have to read through the propaganda. Of course, it's a liberal article, but just the access they got was pretty good. Okay, here we go. National security officials I spoke with had a range of views on the government's balance of power with Musk. He maintains good relations with some of them, including General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, since the two met several years ago when Milley was the chief of staff of the Army. They had discussed technology applications to warfare, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and autonomous machines. So they're basically wanting to build Skynet together. The Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
He has insight that helps shape my thoughts on the fundamental change in the character of war and the modernization of the U.S. military, said Milley. So he's giving like strategic advice to the imperialist war machine. During the Starlink controversy, Musk called him for advice, but other officials expressed profound misgivings. Living in the world we live in which Elon runs this company and it is a private business under his control, we are living off his good graces, a Pentagon official told me. That sucks. That's capitalism. What the hell? What do you think capitalism is?
Yeah, right.
What do you think the military-industrial complex is?
We're living under, the mercy of billionaires.
That's capitalism. Like, how can you act surprised? Your job as a Pentagon official or as a military official is to enforce the agenda of the capitalist class.
Are they really that ignorant, or are they acting as ignorant and basically ignorant?
I think it's a mix.
Right?
I think part of it.
They got into that position. They can't not be that naive. Come on.
So part of it, I think, is naivete. Like part of it is buying into the propaganda that America is
into
free,
their own lies.
smelling their own farts.
Yeah.
Because they believe that America is this bastion of freedom and liberty and the people control it. I think that there is a degree of that. But there's got to be cognitive dissonance, right? There has to be. Because they have to like also realize like, wait a minute, I am doing the bidding of capitalists like all the time.
And
it's kind of like a big part of my job. So there's got to be some like cognitive dissonance, but they can't
explain it. They can't understand.
They can't come to terms with it.
Yeah.
They can't admit it. They can't admit that they're really just working for billionaires and that they're not serving the people at all. And that it's not a true democracy that they're serving. It's an oligarchical, bourgeois, authoritarian, can I say it? Authoritarian administration.
I mean, here's the thing. Instead of having, the feudalist kings and noble family now, we literally have the same thing but on a different name. It's like Elon Musk, from a super rich mine owner family in South Africa, and now he became the richest guy in the world. Like, isn't that like the throne just got passed down for him? He's remained the richest guy on earth.
Satellite of Love. I don't know if that's a Mystery Science Theater reference or a or not.
I remember that.
It says tyranny of Wall Street gangster fraud based economy. It's like that astronaut meme. Always has been.
Yeah, always
has been.
There's a super chat from Jason.
Oh, super chat. Did we miss an earlier super chat or did we get that one?
I think we get that one.
Okay.
Capitalists in the U.S. will follow Musk if he forms a cult and walk into the meat grinder to be ground into.
Wait, what? Capitalists in the U.S. will follow Musk if he forms a cult and walk into the meat grinder to be ground into sausages and fed to billionaires. I mean, he has a cult. He has a huge cult. Have you ever looked at his Twitter feed? Luna, you are.
Super chat from Cornelius that we missed.
Read it.
Tim Gurner, that guy, that's fuckface, should transform into a Skeksis. So the Gelfling can store.
You're having a hard time reading today, aren't you? This is the worst. This is the worst job you've ever done. Give it another take two.
Take two. Team Gurner should transform into a Skeksis so the Gelflings can kick his sorry butt to the curb. I tried.
You're also like receding down into your laptop.
Yeah. I'm sinking.
You're just like Luna's just like a little head popping out of the laptop.
I'm sinking into to all of the amount of disgust.
It's the disgust is taking you over. Sorry, we like the tease. Luna's.
We love teasing each other, don't we?
What is this? All right, so somebody said, where's it at? I lost it. Somebody said something like, this is a good thing because Elon Musk is a jackass, and if they're following him, then it's all going to collapse. But I don't know. Look, I don't want to say anything nice about Elon Musk, but I think that he, in a way, he kind of knows what he's doing.
Yes.
He's a fascist. He's an opportunist, and he's very, very good at bilking the world out of billions and billions of dollars. He's been doing it for a long time.
And he's really good at, having, I mean, it's a cult of personality.
Yeah, he has a cult of personality, 100%.
Already has a cult of personality that, like, just go and check out Twitter, how many blind followers that he has, that just like defend him no matter what.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's very, Gaspar does not understand the super chat. So, hey, why don't you go ahead and share my video on the Skeksis and the Gelflings and fascism?
Yes.
And then Gaspar can watch that and we'll understand all of it. Luna will drop that in the chat over at youtube.com/noncompete. Although those videos will be moving, all the puppet videos are moving to youtube.com/breadville, BREADVILLE. So if you like our puppet shows and stuff, make sure you subscribe to Breadville.
Here we go.
American workers need class consciousness. Cultural revolution is needed before socialism can be possible here. Class consciousness building is absolutely vital. That's what we were talking about earlier when we were talking about the protests about climate change. It's like you can protest all you want, but unless you're building climate change and organizing people into an organized working class movement that has class consciousness, you're not going to get anything done because you don't actually have any power. We have to build power. Why did the Black Panthers and Fred Hampton get mercilessly obliterated by the United States government? Because they were actually building power in their communities, and they had a successful program for building power.
Okay, so this is a super chat from Jason. Thank you so much for your support.
Did they say anything?
Here, this is the message. Here.
Oh.
Here. Capitalists in the US are so ding dong. Musk can form a cult of morons who will worship and walk into the meat grinder.
Yeah, we read that.
Yeah, we wrote that. We read
that.
that. Hey. But then Jason thought that their comment was censored, so this is another super chat. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's yeah, you weren't censored. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
So we can refund that second super chat if you'd like to. Sorry about that. You were not censored. We saw it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go back to the article because we're not quite done with all the shenanigans.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is getting pretty bad. One summer evening in the mid-1980s, Musk and his friend Theo Tusciani took Tausciani's father's car out for an illicit drive. They were both in their mid-teens. They lived about a mile apart in a suburb of Johannesburg, South Africa. I wonder if they were both diamond or emerald mined heirs. I don't know. Neither had a driver's license or permit. See, this is where it starts to get into the whole like fascists are well dressed. You remember that article? Fascists are they dress so nicely. Yeah. It's like, oh, Elon Musk, he was just a little scamp. Remember when he was just a kid and he was just playing around?
He just wear t-shirts.
They were passionate D&D fans, and a new module, a fresh scenario in the game had just been released. Tausciani took the wheel for the 20-minute drive to Santon City Mall. Elon was my co-pilot, Tausciani told me. We went under the cover of darkness. At the mall, they found they didn't have enough money, but Musk promised a salesperson that they would return the next day with the rest and dropped the name of a well-known Greek restaurant owned by Tausciani's family. Okay, there you go. So they were both like little spoiled kids. Elon had the gift of the gab, Tausciani said. He's very persuasive, and he's quite dogged in his determination.
Super chat from Wei.
What does it say?
Hello. And EJ is right about the platforms. We are sorry for the percentage of the super chats for you too.
That's okay. we do have streamelements.com/noncompete/tip. If you want to use that, it's a bit less harsh in terms of the fees collected. Yeah. But we appreciate every super chat as well.
Yes, we appreciate it. It means a lot.
All right. But yeah, thank you so much for that super chat. And yes, I am right about the platforms. Thank you for backing me up on that. It's nice to have a little backup for once. All right. This is just turning into like a puff piece about Musk in a way. I think we kind of hit all if I'm not mistaken.
Great.
We're tapped out on this article. So,
okay,
all right.
good.
Thank you. That was fun. So the upshot here is that yes, I mean, we're not learning anything we don't already know, right?
Who said?
He's very persuasive.
With his corporate power and money, that is.
I know, it's like, yeah, you just told the person you're really, really rich. That's
I'm rich.
If I was really, really rich, I would
Hey,
be very
I'm rich
persuasive.
and I can literally ruin your life in 5 minutes. So.
Or make you very, very wealthy.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if I was very rich, then I'd be very much more persuasive than I am now. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
Deep down, capitalists believe in a derivative of mudsill theory, but based on class. Ooh, I love that reference because I want more people to know about mudsill theory.
Yes.
So I will take this opportunity, thank you for the super chat, to really quickly outline mudsill theory if you're not familiar with it. I'm going to make a video on this in my Fascist America series that I'm doing over at Not Compete. But basically, if you don't know what mudsill theory is, it was the ideological doctrine of the Confederacy during the Civil War in the USA. So the mudsill it's like an old-fashioned term for kind of the foundation of a house. And what the Confederates were pushing, this was an anti-communist line. And most people don't realize that the strong corollary there was between slavery and anti-communism. And the Confederacy was saying, this is the Confederacy talking, not me, but what they were basically saying was that every society has to have a mudsill class.
Yeah.
That is to say, people who do the work that nobody wants to do.
Yeah.
Like, dealing with sewage and, backbreaking work on farms and stuff like that. Nobody wants to do that kind of hard, dirty labor. So you need this mudsill class to do it. And the Confederacy argued that that's why they needed to enslave black people from Africa, because nobody wants to do that work. And they were warning the North that if the North doesn't also have slavery, then there'll be a communist revolution because the workers won't stand for being exploited by the capitalist class. And so it was like this weird sort of proto-fascism where they were saying we have to enslave these people to prevent a communist uprising.
Exactly.
Because God forbid that the people who do that kind of hard labor own their own labor and get the benefits from that labor. They didn't want to see that happen, and they were trying to get the North on their side through the mudsill theory. So anyway, I think that's something that most people don't know about. I grew up in the South. I learned South Carolina history every single year for most of my education, except for the time I lived in Virginia, which was also in the South in a slaveholding colony. And I never heard any of that. I never learned any of that. I didn't learn it at the University of South Carolina's history department when I took American history. They never taught us that. So that I think it's very important to understand that.
Thank you so much for your super chat, another problem is that many Americans try to identify with these billionaires because they have been tricked into thinking they can be among them.
Yep.
The embarrassed kind of
Yeah,
billionaire.
there's a quote that Americans consider themselves, the American working class consider themselves to be temporarily embarrassed millionaires.
Yes, exactly. And I talk about, kind of same kind of term in my last Mooncast about the bourgeois proletariat. That's exactly it.
Yep.
It's a proletariat, but they are in the bourgeois country, in the bourgeois democracy, so their benefits line up with the bourgeoisie in their country. So therefore, they signed with the bourgeoisie instead of with the the actual working class in the third world countries.
Yeah. So the bourgeois bourgeois proletariat in the USA, it's a big problem, bourgeois proletarianism, because there is a category of worker, a strata you might call it, that feels at least that they benefit off of capitalism. And they are basically tricked into supporting the capitalist agenda through things like, being paid more. Luna, this is good. This is great what's about to happen. So basically, I guess, yeah, the point of the matter is that, I'm sorry, I'm very distracted by the awesomeness that's about to be bestowed upon us all. But the only way to fight bourgeois proletariat ideological dilemma is through the power of communism. Close up on Luna. Linda, do the Cleopatra move. Elizabeth Taylor Cleopatra move. Ellie.
I have to do it. Oh, it was
Like Cleopatra,
like this.
yeah.
But like this.
Well, no, but like I just want to see the Cleopatra move.
Here,
Come on, present the hammer.
Cleopatra move.
There you go. Luna did put on, you can't even tell because of the glasses,
Yes,
but Luna did put on the Cleopatra makeup today. There you go. That's what reminded me of it. You could put your glasses back on now. So this was a gift from some of our comrades who went to
it's
China.
Really awesome.
We have some comrades that went to China and they brought these back for us. And
Yeah.
it's literally the coolest. This is the first time I've ever actually held them in my hands. But this is the coolest like souvenir anybody has ever brought back for us. So we now have our very own hammer and sickle. We got to figure out how we can like
Yeah, how you
arrange
can do
them.
this? Somehow, like,
Wait, we don't want it to like cover Uncle
Yeah.
Ho though. There we go.
we find a way. There
Life
we go.
finds a way. I don't want to cover Uncle Ho. Why is this so hard? There. Oh, there we go. Good enough. Oh, the sickle keeps falling. There we go. All right.
Okay.
We have a little diorama now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Fabulous pizzicato says.
You
Thank
need
you so
some
much.
kind of stand for it.
I know.
So I have to make something.
Luna's gonna have to sew a pedestal for put LEDs on it like cosplay.
Yeah. You have to build a whole system for it.
I wonder if we could like. Can you make those, Luna?
I
How long
think-
would it take you to make a set of those?
Oh, it would take a long time though.
Yeah. Maybe
But
after you
it's
get some practice.
Cool
you-
though, it is cool.
All right. Nice little break from the depressing world
Yeah.
of bourgeois proletarian and capitalists controlling the world. Zenitha says, in the U.S., the unspoken cultural pool in the U.S. is not just how much money you make, but how much more money you make than somebody else. It's about being more rich you are than the next person. Luna and I call it the F you got mine mentality, which is a huge problem in the USA.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why the petty bourgeoisie
Individualism.
in the USA is so prone to fascism.
Mhm.
And we saw that a lot through COVID, through like the state house uprisings, quote unquote, that the petty bourgeoisie was having across the country.
Yeah.
The trucker convoys,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's a major problem, and that's why we need to build class consciousness, which means we need to understand how development works and the relationship, the dialectical relationship between communists and the working class. We don't need to be tailists who are following the most reactionary elements of the working class. We also don't want to be commandists who are pretending that we're much farther along with revolutionary development than we are. We want to be right alongside the people, learning from the people as we teach the people. Dialectical relationship. And in order to understand all that stuff, you need to go to banyanhouse.org/shop.
Mhm.
Luna will put that banner up.
Yep.
Check out Luna's translation of the Vietnamese curriculum and dialectical materialism. You can get it for free in the ebook form. You can also order a print copy if you want to support the translation efforts. Or you can print out your own copy, which we've actually done.
We did. We actually did.
We have like several copies of the book that we've pirated ourselves here in Vietnam to hand out to people.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are asking for copies of it and stuff all the time. So anyway. All right. So we got about 20 minutes left, Luna.
Mhm.
I do have a few other things we can read, do
This
I?
is great. You know,
I know.
I mean,
It's very distracting.
you're very distracted.
It's another distraction for Luna.
Yeah. I can do this too.
No, don't hit me with the hammer of communism. I didn't earn that. We got a bonk hammer for that. Get the bonk hammer.
Ow.
It's disrespectful. The hammer of communism is
It's still
reserved for.
transparent. It's half transparent now.
So you can bonk me with that. It's the waiting that's the hardest part. All right.
All right.
Luna's keeping it handy.
Yeah, handy.
Luna wants to be able to
Right
bonk
here.
me at any moment. Oh, that doesn't sound right. Okay, anyway. I have a Global Times article. Sometimes I like to read Global. Whenever I find a Global Times article that is like particularly, I don't know, like trolling or hard hitting, I like to read them. Let me see if I can get this pulled up. So Global Times, if you're not familiar, is a Chinese communist newspaper, and it's very overt in its messaging. And Anyway, but sometimes they have some great articles that kind of call things like they are. And if I could just get this working.
Oh, Connie, just so sweet. Thank you for this live stream.
You're welcome. We're trying. We're doing our best. We're doing the very best we
yeah.
can. All right. So I think this is interesting because it talks about like the Darvo tactics. No joke, no kidding, no exaggeration, that the imperialist state of the USA and its puppets perpetrate.
Mhm.
So this is from the Global Times. Again, Chinese Communist organ. Why the US and West are so keen to act as victims. Global Times editorial. While on a visit to the Fukushima region on Thursday, where they just dumped radiation water out into the ocean,
Yeah.
angering pretty much everyone in Asia.
Yeah, I don't see enough people talk about it yet.
You should talk about this on Mooncast.
I should.
But yeah, so Japan just dumps water, and and then they did all this like theatrics where like the U.S. was it the ambassador who like drank a glass of water or something?
Yeah, and try fish, something like that.
Yeah, but it's like the point isn't like, oh, you can have one glass of water to be okay. The point is, will you drink that
built
water?
up.
Yeah, will you drink that water every day for years to come?
Exactly.
That's the
It'll
question.
affect your children. It's
Will
not,
you eat that
it's
fish
not
every day for
instant
years
death,
to come?
but it's a slow death that lasts for generations.
So anyway,
It's meaningless.
the U.S. ambassador Rahm Emanuel said that he expected the U.S. to support Japan should China's ban on Japanese seafood develop in a dispute with the World Trade Organization. He even labeled China's just act of protecting the health of consumers as economic coercion against Japan, because that's the only terms in which they can think of anything. Everything is in terms of, bourgeois economics. He believes China is bullying Japan using economic means. He failed to mention that the cause was Japan forcefully dumping nuclear-contaminated wastewater into the sea and polluting the marine ecological environment, and instead portrayed Japan as a victim. This is like the go-to thing for fascists, by the way. Darvo, deny, attack, reverse victim offender. This is an abuse tactic where you, if you're abusing somebody or bullying someone or attacking somebody, and then they call you out on it, you deny that you're
deny
abusing
it.
them,
Yes.
you attack the person who you've abused,
Yes.
and you reverse the role of the victim and offender.
Yes.
Darvo. The USA practices Darvo tactics all the dang time. They do it to Vietnam too. All the time. He believes China is bullying Japan. Okay, sure. The scene is telling regarding the issue of dumping nuclear contaminated wastewater to the sea. Japan is clearly the offender, and China is one of those being threatened. But in the narrative of the U.S. and the West, why have the perpetrators become victims and gained international sympathy? Emmanuel confusing the cause and effect and making unfounded counterchanges is the classic playbook of the U.S. and the West playing the victim. And by the way, they get away with it because people in the USA and in the West don't understand dialectical materialism. I'm just saying, they don't understand reason and result. They don't understand how things are defined by relationships. And that's all at play here. We can unpack that more in a minute. In recent years, Western countries, which have been acting arrogantly as great powers, the Great Garden of Europe, remember that? Remember when they were talking, this is when the Ukraine war just started, and they were talking about the Great Garden of Europe and how everything outside of Europe was the jungle and shit.
Yeah.
Like some people are European, like Russians aren't Europeans. They might look like Europeans, but they're not Europeans. But Japanese are officially like honorary Europeans. It's like fascist, racist BS. That's how Europeans act. That's how the West acts. That's how the USA acts. They're now full of grievances and complaining about being coerced and bullied, which seems peculiar. And this is basically, I think, also has to do with the thing that if you have a lot of privilege and power and then you get that hierarchical power taken away from you, it feels like oppression.
Yeah.
It's like the USA has controlled the world for so long. Now that some places are starting to build their own power back, they feel like they're being
And
oppressed.
it doesn't mean that they bully back in USA. They just mean like multipolar world where, where everybody is equal. And it's like the USA reacted like as if they are being bullied by the rest of the world. Like,
Well,
what
we
are
have
you
a long
talking
way to go
about?
before everyone's equal, but yeah, building towards that
Yeah,
equality.
we want to. I mean,
Yeah. I'm not trying to correct Luna. People misunderstand me. When I do things like that, I'm not correcting Luna. I'm making it clear because I know people will attack Luna later for saying things, and I'm
Yeah.
just trying to defend, I'm clarifying. All right, whether
raise
it's
your hand. Show me your hand.
Luna's got this move now. I don't really understand it. What is this? Is
I
this
don't know. Your hand is very warm. I love it.
I do feel hot as heck in this studio.
I'm so
And in this
cold.
three-piece
You
suit.
don't understand. I'm putting on my
Brave
winter jacket right now, blanket on my lap, and I'm still cold.
You need long underwear. All right, whether its economic, military, political advantage held by the U.S.-led Western bloc are obvious. Although the advantage fluctuates from time to time, it has generally been maintained since the end of World War II until now. In other words, they are bigger in every field. They only bully others, and they do love to bully others. This has become the main manifestation of the hegemony of the U.S. in the West. Over the years, there have been numerous examples of their interference, bullying, coercion, even direct aggression against other sovereign countries. Now they frequently come out with complaints and accusations of being bullied by others.
Yeah.
This serves as a big contrast to the true impression left on the world by the reality of international politics.
Exactly, like who said, when you've been on top for so long, equality feels like an oppression.
Yep, exactly. And that's what Global Times says now. In the West, this is known as victim blaming. When the U.S. and the West claim that they have been bullied and harmed, it's not even that they have actually suffered any injustice, but because they have evil intentions. Damn, calling it like it is. On the one hand, for the U.S. and the West, the victim blaming approach is also a form of cognitive warfare. A classic example of this unfolded at the Shangri-La Dialogue in early June this year, where U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin in his speech mentioned bullying 3 times and coercion 5 times, all pointing to China, either directly or indirectly, conveniently forgetting the fact that it is the U.S. aircraft carriers and military aircraft that continually provoke China in its vicinity. Their robber's logic is evident. When it comes to smearing and demonizing China, the standard of the Western world can change as easily as a swiveling wheel, depending on their interests. Getting poetic on us there, Global Times.
Right.
Being devoid of logic is their own logic. Being devoid of reason is their reason. And being devoid of rules are their rules. It's like whenever, was it Biden that was talking about like how they have to have rules-based rule? And what he means is USA
rule-based
enforced order.
Yeah.
That's what
Something like
Biden really
that.
wants. On the other hand, the so-called victim mentality of the U.S. and West is also a form of resistance against the prevailing trends of the times. In a sense, the anxiety felt by Western countries may not be entirely staged. This is what I was saying earlier, remember? Following the victory, we were talking about the mix of the cognitive dissonance. I think that's kind of exactly what I was talking about earlier. Following the victory in the Cold War, and for a considerable period of time after its conclusion, developed countries enjoyed unrivaled dominance in shaping international discourse. I will also say that there are these same dynamics are at play with white people around the world, because whiteness has dominated for so long, and once whiteness gets challenged, it's like white people feel that as oppression, just as an aside. Following the victory in the Cold War, and for a considerable period of its conclusion, developed countries enjoyed unrivaled dominance in shaping international discourse. As a result, many Western elites naturally believed that international rules should be tailor-made to serve their own interests, unquestionably granting them the right to prioritize their own development. However, as history's pendulum has swung toward a multipolar world, the international order, which is previously dominated by the U.S., is inevitably undergoing changes. So on the surface, it may seem like they are rejecting China's gradual ascent to the global center stage, but deep down they are filled with fear about turning the page on history and entering a new era.
Yep.
I mean, this is pretty dang good analysis.
True, yeah.
Previously, Washington arrogantly claimed that it would deal with China from a position of strength. Later, they changed their tune, saying they would not back down in the face of China's bullying and coercion.
Oh, gosh.
This shift occurred because they gradually realized that their efforts to suppress China were not gaining international support and were unlikely to succeed. Therefore, they are changing their rhetoric to package themselves differently and confuse the world. Whenever the US and the West mention opposition to China's threat, it's always followed by actions that harm China's just interests. In response, China counteracts strongly, but it is then painted by the West as the coercer, providing an excuse for their next round of containment actions. What keeps changing is the Western world's rhetoric, while what remains unchanged is their hegemonic logic and double standards. From this perspective, it becomes clear why the US and Western countries are putting so much effort into this performance. Ultimately, it's because they're experiencing a psychological imbalance, cognitive dissonance, you might say, due to the changing balance of power between the East and West. They're anxious that China and other emerging economies, once they become powerful, might affect or erode Western hegemony. And again, the same shit goes for white folks. White people are terrified that we might lose the hegemonic power. And there's also the fear.
Superiority.
Right, exactly. There's also the fear that not superiority, but supremacism. Because they're, white people are not superior, but they do have
I know. I mean,
power.
quote unquote.
I know. Again, see, I have to explain this to the audience. I'm not correcting Luna. I'm just clarifying so that it doesn't get taken out of context by the many Luna haters out there, which I know it's shocking, but there are Luna haters out there. They're jealous.
Yeah.
They're jealous of you,
They're
Luna.
jealous of me.
Because they don't have your Cleopatra eyes.
They're jealous of my sickle and hammer.
They're jealous of your hammer and sickle. All right. Wait, what was the point I was trying to make though? Oh yeah, white folks have the same problem. Like there's also the fear that of reprisal. Like that when like white people are afraid that when white people lose power, all the other folks in the world are going to treat us the way we treated them.
Yeah.
And the West is terrified that the rest of the world is going to treat the West the way that the West treated the rest of the world. It's not going to happen. There's no material foundation for that fear.
Yeah, there's no proof whatsoever.
Yeah.
Even though we have a countless evidence of how white people treated us, how horrible it is. But then there's no actual evidence whatsoever about how we treat white people. It's just came from their.
It's because they think
sick
other
mindset.
people. Yeah, exactly. It's because they think other people think the way that they do.
Yeah.
They assume everyone else is a bully and a supremacist the way that they are. Therefore, they attempt to portray themselves as victims to legitimize their containment and suppression of China in an effort to deceive the world. And white people do the same thing, by the way. They act like they're the victims in the USA as an excuse to suppress and oppress other people.
Yeah.
As the saying goes, a righteous cause is required when sending an army. The US and West, as an unjust aggressor, seeks to fabricate a righteous cause for themselves. While they employ various tactics and have a mastery of rhetoric, their core intentions, veiled in dark shadow, have long been exposed. Their efforts are unlikely to achieve the desired results. So, I just thought that was an interesting article. I thought it was pretty good analysis. Just checking the chat real quick.
Yeah. The privileged group within this or that society complaining about potential oppression just proves that such privilege does in fact exist. The privileged group knows deep down it's real, but don't want to admit it.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And then, a couple of folks in a couple of the chats have talked about how, when we talk about, so to clarify, we're talking about the West, we're talking about the Western bourgeoisie, right? And the bourgeois proletariat that supports them and the petty bourgeoisie that supports them. So, all right.
We have about 5 minutes left.
I know we have about 5 minutes left. We're almost done, folks. I'm kind of getting a little sad, little sad. We do have a good. We'll have to save that for next week about India, Brazil, and the rest of the global South breaking away from the U.S.-led world order from Bloomberg. And thank God. I hope that they break away entirely. Let's see. We got about 5 minutes left. Folks, I know we haven't read a lot of the chat today. I feel bad about that. We usually try to read more chat, but we don't have Grant producing today, and we're still getting used to some of the new technology we have. So, but if you have any questions or comments, now is the time to sound off in the chat. We have about 5 minutes to do a little lightning round. The UAW strike and the stand-up strike strategy. I've never heard of this stand-up. See, I'm way out of the loop.
Strike?
I know that the United Auto Workers are striking, and I support that, of course. But I haven't had a chance to read into it very much. Let me read real quick. A stand-up strike is a new approach to strikes that is more strategic than traditional strikes. The approach is inspired. I'm just reading from Google. I don't know what the source is even. The approach is inspired by the influential sit-down strikes of '37, which played a pivotal role in shaping the union. The essence of the stand-up strike lies in its unpredictability and reliance on discipline, organization, and innovation. It's a strike that grows over time, giving our national negotiators maximum leverage and maximum flexibility to win a record contract. But what is it? They don't actually.
What is it? What's the difference?
Hold on. Let me see. Thank you for that. That's giving me something to learn real quick. I'm trying to just find a better source that actually goes in a little bit more detail. Term of the day from Investopedia, stand up strike. Somebody gave me a piece of advice a long time ago, which was that if you want to get the closest thing to truth in capitalist media, check out some of the investment articles because they're going to be a little bit less likely to bullshit people who are like investing money in the stock market, you know?
They would be honest with each other.
That's not 100% true all the time,
Exactly.
but
They'll
occasionally,
be a little bit more honest to each other.
Occasionally you'll find them being a little more honest to each other than they are to like the proletariat. So not all of them, okay, so I guess it's kind of like something where they ramp it up over time. Not everyone stops working. Workers walk out at specific locations assigned by their union rather than all members striking at once. Okay, instead of striking all plants at once, select locals will be called on to stand up and walk out on strike.
Jessica C has it. Stand up strike means different locals are called on to strike at different times. Keeps the bosses guessing and keep them on defense.
I see. So instead of just like
do it all at
blowing
once.
everything at once, yeah. I guess that's a good strategy.
Yeah,
It also because
especially in the big corporation, you have many kind of locations.
right, but you also have in the back pocket everyone's striking at the same time. Like you can
yeah.
ramp it up, so it gives you a little bit of a.
Yeah.
It's not like all or nothing. You can kind of like adjust over time, and yeah, I like that. I think it's. I mean, on paper it sounds good. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Yeah.
But-
The stand-up strike targets strategic choke point in the company infrastructure. It allows flexibility to scale up negotiation to strike in more parts of the company.
Okay. I mean, yeah. Okay. So on paper that sounds cool. I don't know anything more about it than that, but sounds like a good way to have some flexibility and some tactical control over what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's good. Guerrilla Viet Cong tactics.
Yes. Strike when not expected, and also we only strike when we know we will win.
The great General Von Zapp said it best. Keep management on its toes. Yes, absolutely. Well, this is really. I thought about this. Yeah, it also keeps the strike fund going longer.
Yeah.
Because it can really be hard on workers, when you've been striking for weeks and months.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we. What's his name? Jimmy. Jimmy works down at the dock. The union's on strike. He's down on his luck. It's tough. So tough.
But that's why I just sing.
Living on a prayer.
Okay.
Whoa, we're halfway there.
Oh.
Living on a prayer. Take my hand. We'll make it. Don't ever try to shake Luna's hand, I guess. Is the lesson we're learning here.
I just give you my face.
All right. Bon Jovi. EJ going Bon Jovi over there. Look. Oh man. Okay. Last little anecdote, I guess, and then we'll call it a day. When I started teaching English in Korea over a decade ago, I asked my students, like, what kind of music do you like to listen to? And one of them said, Jobovi. Jobovi. And I was like, who's Jobovi? And then I couldn't figure that out. And they're like, he's a very famous teacher. He's from the USA. You don't know Jobovi? And I was like, I don't know. And they like pulled up a picture of John Bon Jovi. And I was like, oh yeah, Jobovi, of course. All right. It's one of those songs that gets white people turned up. If you've ever seen me at a karaoke bar at 2 a.m, you know it's true. You know it's true. Okay, that's another one.
Everything I do it for these.
You've been trying to shake Luna's hand the whole time. Tabo asked. Yes, that's what I thought was going on. All right. Well. There we have it. That was a show. That was the show. That was BREADCAST.
I'm so hungry. Hungry.
You have to sing for your supper.
Hungry.
Sing a song that'll get white people turned up.
Oh my gosh.
No, just sing anything. I don't care.
Yeah, right. I mean, copyright. I have to sing about something.
Sing a red song.
Red song.
Sing anything. We can't eat until you sing a song.
Don't
Do you not
give me
understand?
pressure. I can't think of anything yet. Another red song. Lá còn xanh như anh đang còn trẻ, lá trên cành như anh trong đoàn quân. Gió rung cây, cành lá tương mừng đùa vui. Anh trai làng có đi chiến dịch đầu xuân.
What does that mean?
Means of talking about the soldiers who joining the military to fight against the enemy, which is the USA.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks for watching. I'm EJ.
And I'm Luna.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.